Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday morning. I'm Joel McDonald. I'm the author of the JGOOT Way of Travel. Um, Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining me on this Saturday morning. I don't know how many of you are in our free Facebook group, but this is a little different. This is just for book buyers. 90% of the people in our free Facebook group haven't bought our book yet, so we get questions all over the place. But today, I'm just here for those of you who have bought my book, who have questions about any particular part of it. And it's just a rapid fire Q&A session. So any of you that are watching, feel free to just pop any questions that you have about the book, any compliments that might inspire others, any wins from any recent trips that you've booked using these strategies. And we can just have a conversation about it. As I wait for questions to come in, hi, Christine. Christine's chiming in from North Carolina. The only person who it's not morning for on East Coast time. And Edwin asked, can I hear you when you speak? Nope, this is just, you can just type your questions in. That would be a great big mess if, we might have 50 or 100 people on here, and that could get ugly real quick if everyone just had an open mic. But feel free to type in your questions, and I can answer them as I see them. Thank you very much, Christine. She says, loves the information, 6 years till retirement and building your points. No better way, no better way. When you're not traveling, you're accumulating points for future travels. So that's fantastic. Gary says, got the book, tried using the rules, found a trip to use points on, but the airlines had no availability. What do you do? Welcome to the world of award travel. So I like to look at this as, there are hundreds of millions of people who get on planes every year. Most of them pay cash. A small percentage of them use points for award seats. And award seats and hotel rooms are all basically the leftovers, like they release award seats when they're confident they're not going to sell out a plane. They release award rooms when they're confident they're not going to be sold out of hotels. So the one downside to being able to travel for free is that it's not always guaranteed. You can usually find something, but that's where the science comes in. You do have to have strategies for where to look. Maybe you are flexible. Maybe you go on a different date. Maybe you go on a different airline. Maybe you stay with a different hotel. Maybe you position. Position is a more advanced strategy that we cover in the 301 section of our book. Point hedging 301 starts on page 67. So there's almost always a way. It's just a matter of practicing and getting good at it. So Gary, I hope that question answered. If you have need a clarifying question or need to clarify that, I'll get to all the questions in the order you guys type them in. Let's see, special tips for Canadians. I do apologize. We focus on the US credit card system. I do know that we have a couple Canadian members who joined, and it was after, a stern warning of like, we don't keep track of that. They do have a point system. The credit cards, Canada is second best of all the countries that, have credit hacking systems. Unfortunately, we don't know them. I know they have Chase. They're not quite as lucrative as the US, but there are several Canadian bloggers who talk about that. The good news is the 101 strategies that we teach complement the point hacking strategies very well, and those work anywhere in the world. So I would say focus heavily on the 101 strategies, focus heavily on the redemption multipliers. Those work the same everywhere in the world. So the 101 and the 301 sections, you'll definitely want to dig into. The earning multipliers part, that's a little bit different because, Canadians have different credit cards than people in the US do. So yeah, any Canadians here watching, The 101 and 301 sections, those, or I should say the 101 section and the redemption multiplier sections of both sections of the book work just the same. The part we can't help you because we're here in the US is how to earn more points because we don't know those credit card systems. Edwin says, I have a Chase business debit card. Will that work to generate all the points that you recommend? Unfortunately, it will not. Edwin, you're not alone. A lot of people, you know, they've had that card in their wallet for 10, 20, 30 years, myself included, and making a change is something no one wants to do. But I'm here to say that page 36 and page 70 of the book spell out the 10 different cards that we recommend. That does not mean you need 10 different cards. It means you need one card from page 36 and you need one card from page 70. Pretty sure those are the pages. Let me just check. Yep. Choosing the right Chase card on page 36. And page 70 is choosing the right Amex card. There are 6 Amex cards to choose from, and there are 5 or 6, I forget. And there are 4 different Chase cards to choose from. And you can find those in the book. I would encourage you to consider changing to one of those credit cards. That's why my company exists. You know, one good Chase card that earns ultimate rewards points that are transferable. That does not include freedom cards. It has to be a Sapphire or an Ink Chase card, and it has to be an Amex card that earns membership rewards. Those are the magic points. Those are the points that Chase will only give you, you know, $1,000 for 100,000 points, or if you have a reserve, $1,500 for 100,000 points. Whereas you can transfer them to airlines and get 5,000, 10,000, sometimes $12,000 worth of flights for 100,000 points. David Blake, halfway through the book. Good job. I recommend, you know, anyone who has gotten the book and it's just collecting dust, I recommend just pick it up, take 10 minutes and skim through it. That'll give you the motivation to you know, then dig into the book. You know, you'll see other travelers who are traveling a lot better than they used to. You'll see some teaser case studies that'll make a lot more sense once you dig into the book. But hearing that people are only halfway through the book is great to me. That means you didn't power through it in 10 minutes or you know, in a couple hours, and you're taking each chapter seriously and applying the stuff in it. So great job, David. Thank you. Thanks for your purchase and thanks for showing up today. Posted simply cry. I'm not sure what that means. Feel free to elaborate and we'll see if we can't help you cry less. A lot of people do cry once they learn how much more valuable their points are than how they've been using them. So I'm guessing it has to do something with that. Good morning, DJ J Doe. Let's see. This is a very common question. Proud parent asks, there's some legislation pending, Credit Card Competition Act of 2023, that would eliminate the ability for banks to offer points. Yep, that comes up every year or two, probably every other year on average. It's been happening for 20 years. Don't really have an answer other than it's come up every 20 years. There are big lobbyists who depend heavily on credit cards and on points, including banks, credit cards, and hotels and airlines. One thing people don't think about is hotels and airlines benefit from this because banks give them billions of dollars so they can buy points in bulk and use them as an enticement to get people to switch over to their credit card. I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon. I don't see the harm in, you know, in signing and sending notices to senators and legislators to make sure, but I'm not worried at all about it changing. Hasn't changed in the 30 years since this loyalty system started happening with credit cards. Kenneth, and forgive me, you guys, I'm reading these as I show them because I'm just going in the order you guys asked the questions. Can you tell I'm from California? You guys? Best first card for P3 at age 18, discover to build credit score, or can we get her into a reward card that she's been an authorized user on our oldest card? That depends. I've been helping my son and he's not there yet. We're about ready to get him into a rewards card. He did he went for a couple other cards and got denials. So anytime you get denied with Chase, that's a 6-month waiting period before you can try again. So what I would recommend is get them on NerdWallet and see what NerdWallet says. They've got a very good credit analyzer that not only tells you your score, but tells you the likelihood of getting approved for a card. Sometimes you're going to want to get them on, like start them off with a student card, and it's not going to be of any use for travel and points, but it will build their credit so that they can get there. Other times, if they've been an authorized user on a card that lets them piggyback on your credit score, then they might be ready for their first card to be a rewards card. That would possibly be a freedom card. Those points aren't valuable until they pair that with a sapphire card, but at least they could start accumulating those ultimate rewards cards. Great question though, and I'm in the same boat with my 19 and 20-year-olds. David asks, I have points all over the place: Marriott, Hyatt, Chase Sapphire, United, American, Alaska, American Express. How do I condense? Thanks for sharing. This is a very common thing with people who, this is the strategy that most free travel bloggers use. There's nothing wrong with that if you don't mind juggling lots and lots of credit cards. How do you condense? I think you answered your own question. Condense the JGOOT philosophy. If you want to travel the JGOOT way, is to just condense down to one Chase card that earns ultimate rewards and one Amex card that earns membership rewards. In the book, I recommend just getting one of each. Get your Chase card first because it's a lot easier to practice with, and really, really get to know that card. A lot of people miss out on the value of the cards that they get. It's not just about that sign-up bonus that first time, because after you earn that, if you don't have the system for constantly replenishing those points, you're going to be forever chasing sign-up bonuses. But if you do condense down to one Chase card and one Amex card and get to know those cards really well, and by really well, I mean until you're getting at least $1,000 in free travel benefits for every $10,000 that you spend on your Chase card. Only after you've done that should you consider graduating to Amex. Amex is a more flexible, more powerful card. It's also a more complicated card to master those benefits. But if you do just condense down to just those two cards, after you get a feel for both of them, then maybe you can kind of get another Chase card that complements it. Maybe get another Amex card that complements it after you know which points you need more of, depending on how you travel, and which points are easier to earn, etc. And that answer is different for everyone. But the simple answer is, just throw the rest in a drawer. Any that are high fees, downgrade to low fee cards, and focus on Chase Ultimate Rewards points and Amex membership rewards points. So that's the JGOOT way. We like to keep it simple. That allows you to master those cards because they are extremely valuable. And mastering those cards is far more valuable than just having a minimal knowledge of half a dozen other credit cards. Best time for last minute rewards points is 2 weeks out. Seems like it makes it difficult to plan. So Christine, to clarify that, I would say the best time for the deals is not last minute. It's actually 11 months out. So if you're a planner, the absolute best deals for points are 11 to 12 months out. Lots of airlines vary on that, but most of them release award seats 11 months out. Some do also, I mean, and then there are plenty of other seats that get released in between then, including the next best sweet spot of 2 to 4 weeks out. But that's not, there are plenty. I rarely book flights with that late of notice. I don't prefer to travel that way. And there are plenty of deals to be had 3 months, 6 months, up to 12 months out. So I would say best deals ever, 11 to 12 months out. Second best deals, like reliably, are 2 to 4 weeks out. If that makes you squeamish, don't worry. There are plenty in between there as well. David Blake bought a book. Will you get a hard copy also? Assuming you paid for a hard copy, yes. The $7 book is the digital version. It actually costs us more than $7 to get that digital version in your hands, just because of advertising costs. And that's meant for people who don't want a physical book. If you ordered a physical book, they are typically taking 3 to 5 days to get to you. If it's been longer than that, you can always email us at support@jgoot.com and someone will look into it. Be sure to email from the address that you ordered with, or tell us what email address that you used when you bought it, and we'll look into it and get it figured out. On that note, for anyone who ordered and can't find the digital download, you can always go and, we send everything to your email. And you can find instructions. Let me just pop this up. You can find instructions at jgoot.com account access. So jgoot.com/account access. So if you bought the digital copy, you can't find it, it was emailed to you. It's probably in your spam folder, or your bulk folder, or your promotions folder. This day and age, it's hard to get out of those folders with the volume of emails we send. But you can find instructions on where to find that at jgoot.com/account access. And at the bottom of those instructions, if none of that works, is an email address where you can email our support team. Let's see. I think I lost my place on questions. Let me find you again. Proud parent. I've got to just say, like, there are thousands of things that you could worry about. The beauty of the JGOOT Way of Travel is it's 10 simple steps that you focus on. And when you focus on just those 10 simple steps, you don't really have to worry about anything else. I know that sounds like I'm ducking the question, but I mean, we've had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And the thing is that the 99.9% of questions that we get asked are because they're not implementing all of the steps of the JGOOT Way. Last minute travel, that's what points are for. Last minute travel, when points don't work, that's what our Hail Mary plays are for. So there's always a solution when you have those 10 steps in place. When you don't have those 10 steps in place, it's easy to worry about every possible problem that can pop up. But that's why I wrote the book. That's why we have these 10 steps in place. And the more faith you put in those steps, the less of those problems that you used to worry about based on the way you always traveled become an issue. What are the best months for finding trip bargains? I don't believe in that anymore. Look every day. I've taken amazing travel deals in peak season in the middle of summer when everyone is paying twice as much for flights. I apply the 10 steps in the book and it usually works out. I don't believe in Tuesdays at 1 a.m. I don't believe in 90 days out. I don't believe in any of those strategies that were very valid strategies before the age of the internet and instant information. But the consistency of looking every day will beat any tip or trick that you read out there about only booking on Tuesdays, award seats getting released on the 1st and the 15th of the month. I mean, I've heard it all. Nothing beats just looking every day. And that doesn't require any points at all, by the way. What's the best thing you can do if you want to book a trip to Mexico in March? Start looking 8 months ago, maybe. No, 9 months ago would be the best time. So again, like the absolute best deals are typically a year out. Anything sooner than that, the Hail Mary plays, we've got 3 of them in our library, our free content library at jgoot.com. And the various strategies that we teach. The 101 strategy will get you there. Look every day, go when you find a good deal. 201 strategies will get you free lodging at any major city in Mexico. And the 301 strategies will get you free flights on points. So the best thing you can do is same thing, apply the 10 steps in the book, and those will get you there. There's no universal answer about trips to any specific place at any specific time, but the 10 rules will definitely help cut costs. And Dr. Becca Sansom answered that same question. As soon as availability opens up, typically 11 to 12 months out, otherwise last minute. So yeah, I agree. Those are the first best, 11 to 12 months out. Second best deals, 2 to 4 weeks out. Plenty of great deals in between. You just have to have a system for finding them. Another question about how to consolidate. I won't spend much time on that. Lynn, about 5 minutes in, I answered that question, and I spent about 5 minutes talking about it. So you can watch the replay for an answer to that. But short answer, in the book, we are firm believers, and I am still a firm believer in just Chase and just Amex. I still have a Marriott card from before I knew what I was doing. I still have a Delta card from before I knew what I was doing. I keep this stupid Frontier card as a reminder. This is like I've had this for 25 years, and I keep this as a reminder of the costly mistake I made because I thought getting 2 points per dollar spent was a good thing. I don't think they offer that anymore, but I still keep the card because it's great for my credit. Quit spending on all those cards. Spend on Chase, spend on Amex, learn how to use them, and nothing is more powerful. Not even Capital One, which also has flexible points, but they're not as powerful as Chase and Amex combo. Citi, distant fourth, flexible points. Quit spending on all those, Chase and Amex, and learn how to use them. I always like to say, you can buy a samurai sword on eBay. That does not make you a samurai. You can buy or you can get the cards we recommend in the book, but if you just throw them under your pillow and hope that you'll magically learn how to use them, it's not going to work. So get the right cards, learn how to use them. You'll never go back. Nahid, very common question. A quick question about points. We pay lots of taxes every year with a 2.2% fee. It's wise to cut. Is it wise to use credit card to X points and redeeming them wisely? So our philosophy is that until you are an advanced user, and we consider advanced users who are getting at least 20% back for every dollar they spend. In other words, if you spend 50 grand a year, you're an advanced user if you're getting at least $20,000 in free travel per year. Once you are to that point, you should be able to answer that question for yourself. You know the value of points, you know how to earn points, you know how to redeem them from the sheer fact that you're able to get 10 times more free travel than Heck, that's 20 times more free travel than people with 2% cashback cards have. Once you're an advanced user, you can venture out into paying fees that cost more than 1%. Until then, we recommend never paying fees that are more than 1%. Now, I recommend buying points or paying a 1% fee like you do on Rakuten. That's typically what you're doing all day and night, as long as it's a legitimate 1% cost. Any more than that, it really, really eats into the profitability of this hobby. So that's my generic advice. Once you're at 20% return on your credit card spend, that's when you can consider yourself advanced enough to decide if you should risk paying those higher fees. And to elaborate on why that is, let's say that you spend $100,000. I don't care if that's in 6 months or 6 years. Let's say you spend $100,000 and you spent 3% on all of those fees to collect the points. That would have cost you $3,000 extra dollars. And if you're not good at redeeming those points and you only get 2 cents per point, you will have paid $3,000 for $2,000 worth of travel. You will have prepaid $3,000 for $2,000 worth of free travel. If you're really good and you get 6-cent redemptions, in other words, you take 100,000 points and get $6,000 worth of free travel, it's not $6,000 worth of free travel because you paid $3,000 for those points. So I hope that made sense. Really, the 1% is the cutoff. And until you consider yourself an advanced user, just don't pay points higher than 1%, or don't pay, fees or percentages higher than 1%. I heard that booking domestic flights on partner airlines like Air Canada can save. Is that only for booking with points? So there's something missing to that. I mean, you can go on Google, and sometimes Air Canada has a fare. Other times United has a fare. They will just show whoever that is, and you just book with whoever has the best fare. So you don't need to put much thought into it. But that is entirely different with points. I fly all the time on United, but I booked it through Air Canada. I fly all the time on Delta, but I booked it through KLM. I fly on American, and I booked it through British Airways. So that is something that we cover in the 301 section of the book, and that part of it is very true, and it is very lucrative. You can get a flight for a half, if not a quarter, as many points, if sometimes less. My record was my record, I booked through Singapore and I flew on Singapore, so that's not the same as what you're asking. But yeah, United, always go and look at Air Canada. You're not always going to find a better deal, and you're not always going to find availability, but you always check. If you see a Delta flight that's 50,000 points, always go to Air France or KLM and just check. There are plenty of other partners, but that's my go-to. If you are flying American Airlines, the bad news is you can't use Ultimate Rewards or Membership Rewards, but you can transfer them to British Airways and see if that'll let you get on that American Airlines flight. And that is covered in the 301 section of the book, which, what did I say? That starts at page, let me see. It starts at page 68. Dr. Becca, I love the book, loved the conference. Thanks for coming out. And I love the Southwest training. Isn't that great? Stephanie she's got that companion pass training dialed in. Are there plans to make more small bites products, like a shorter training on just earning multipliers, etc.? We haven't done that yet, Dr. Becca or Dr. Sansom. We haven't done that yet. These it takes a lot of work to put those together. And although we have all those bite-sized things in an organized structure in our coaching program, breaking them into parts, it gets really difficult because so many of them require prerequisite information. So we haven't found a way to just do those in bite-sized chunks because we'll share a bit of information and we end up spending 3 times as long explaining the prerequisite information that builds up to it. And with that said, I will just go ahead and share that the whole purpose of this book is to save you as readers several $1,000s a year, like add several $1,000s in either free travel or legitimate savings to your travel budget and double or triple, how far you stretch your vacation budget. The purpose of doing that, I'll be quite honest, is so that, and some of you, that's plenty, and that might be more travel than you even paid for before reading the book, and that's great. Others will want to do our coaching program because they get greedy. They want to travel more. They want to travel in first class. They want to, stay in those penthouse suites. And that's what our coaching program is for. So if you like the book, if this has saved you thousands of dollars and you want more, but you're not quite sure how to do that, that's what our coaching program is for. If interested, you can go to jgoot.com/call and set up an appointment. These are not hard pressure sales calls. This is, we will help you figure out what part of the book is going to help you the most, or, are your travel plans robust enough that our coaching program would be a fit? It's not cheap. It's several $1,000s because it is intensive. You're working one-on-one or in a very small group with our coaches who all book 50 to 100 to $150,000 in free travel a year. So enough with that shameless plug. Let's get back to questions. Every time I do that, I lose my place. Pam. Pam got the book, excited to start going through it, feeling overwhelmed. And you're not alone. That is definitely the case. I'm sure the comments that go long past this can reinforce that. Treat it just like you would eating an elephant, one bite at a time. Rather than just, some people binge read the book in 2 hours and say, that's great, I'm going to go do that. Uh, this book is meant to go back through multiple times. And every time you go back through it, you'll pick up something new because your knowledge base will keep increasing. So don't worry, it is overwhelming. This is a lot like learning a new language. And I don't know about you, but my wife and I, will listen to Pimsleur, and sometimes we just have to listen to one unit 2 or 3 times because it does feel overwhelming. We don't feel like we grasped it. So we go back and we listen again. I can assure you it's worth it. A lot of people think this is just about saving a few bucks. This has the potential of taking your existing vacation budget, whether that's $1,000 a year or 10,000 or $100,000 a year, and doubling or tripling or quintupling it. So be patient, one bite at a time, and you will get through it. If you downgrade from MX Platinum to Gold, can you keep the points you have? It's a two-part answer. Technically, you could do that. We never recommend downgrading because you could just get you could get a new card and get the sign-up bonus for that. Downgrading, you don't typically ever get points. Sometimes if you're speaking to a rep and they negotiate that for you, sometimes they'll offer you some points, but it's almost never as lucrative as the sign-up bonus you would get. Now, with that said, let me clarify. Remember that the JGOOT way of travel does not depend on sign-up bonuses for our point earning strategy. Sure, a sign-up bonus is nice, but we like to really get a lot more value out of 2 or 3 credit cards by knowing how to use them so that we don't have to go and constantly chase sign-up bonuses. So I hope I answered that question well enough. Your biggest hiccup is the art of learning to find the award space. Any suggestions? You got to just keep practicing. I really do believe that the best way to practice is with coach fairs, with short and easy domestic fairs that you might fly and just coach anyway. I'm 6 feet. Coach is not comfortable for me, but if it's a 2 or 3 hour flight, 9 times out of 10, I do it in coach. If I'm flush on points, if I find a great deal, sure, I'll do first class, or business class. But it's a lot easier to find that award space in coach because it's not nearly as coveted. I mean, there are vultures circling. They have release dates memorized on every airline, and they snatch up those first class seats as soon as possible. We have systems for finding them, but it is 10, if not, it's a 10 times as difficult to find a business class seat as it is coach. It's 100 times as difficult to find first class seats as it is coach. So the best way is to just practice with coach. If you've got a domestic flight, practice finding them with coach because it's a lot easier and a lot less discouraging and overwhelming. Not the answer you were looking for, but I do hope it helps. And then when you get that practice, you'll feel your way to when you do stumble across those business and first class flights, and then you can start zeroing in on those more desired business and first class flights. It's not an exact process. That's why we have a coaching program where we do teach guaranteed strategies to get there. But make no mistake, it's a 6-month program. We're going to build you up to that level 1 month at a time. And we've basically got a checkpoint. We've got a coach who's at each month is going to kind of graduate your skill level so that you graduate with the ability to just know how to go and find those seats. Um, as much as I'd love to, uh, we it, I agree that the volume of questions, but at some point you've got to just decide, like, am I going to do this myself or am I going to get help with the coaching program? We've got multiple levels of support. We've got a $7 book. We've got training that you can subscribe to every month. But as soon as you get down to needing personal support and answering questions in a small group format, that costs a lot of money. And I mean, the more classes we do in between, the more indecision happens, and it doesn't work. We only have so many resources that we can be available for questions. Let's see. Yeah, Christine, I think of all the money I've spent in the last few years to take me around the world to dive, and it makes me profoundly sad to know how many points I've not made by just being ignorant. But now. And that's the key. We've all done it. I've got my millions of frontier points that I earned. Oh my gosh, it could have been so much more. I don't think I ever would have run out if I knew what I knew then. Because I owned a business. I spent lots of money on credit cards. But I know now. Um, how do you obtain a hard copy? You can go to jgoot.com/book, and you can just reorder. Where is it? Oh, I thought I had a banner for it. jgoot.com/book. There it is. And you can order a hard copy. You get a complimentary digital copy. What we do for people who already bought the digital copy is that if once you get the book, if you go and just scratch our back and post a review on Amazon with a picture of you holding the book, we will go ahead and refund that initial digital copy. If not, I mean, it's $7, not a terribly big deal to just order the book again. So hopefully that makes it easy enough. Our it's taking us about currently 3 to 5 days to get those shipped out. Back to comments. I lost my place again. Bear with me. Let's see, Christine. Okay. Um, yes, good to proud parent says good to know it hasn't gotten traction. Yeah, it comes up every other year. And Christine's our proud parent is referring to um, legislation that comes up every couple of years about trying to ban the points system. And yeah, it's been in the works for 20 years. Most of us aren't worrying about it. And what I like to say is, even if it is a reality, that's really an argument for getting as much in as you can versus throwing up your hands and saying, "Oh, it's going to go away soon." Because I'm here to tell you, it's life changing. Like when you learn how to hop on a flight for $11 instead of $750 per person for a family emergency, and you got a family of five, that's life changing. Most people that don't have this system in place end up chewing up their vacation budget on family emergencies. So, that alone, forget first class travel, forget penthouse suites. That alone is worth, taking advantage of this travel loophole until it closes up, whether that's because of legislation or whether that's because too many people go to the trouble of learning this. And there might come a day for that. If, more than 5% of the population starts giving a shit about free travel and award space and all of this stuff that's too much trouble, guess what? It's going to go away because right now airlines don't care. They're giving us seats that they couldn't sell anyway. They'll give us first class seats that they couldn't sell anyway because they're getting their points back. Um, they don't have to sell. They that's what they do, and that's how they get revenue from the banks. So yeah, I would say whether it's legislation or whether it's other people learning how to do it, that's your argument for just getting as much of this great travel loophole as you can until it someday in the future where it might go away. I don't think it will because most of my friends still don't care. I try to tell my friends about this and they're just like, too much trouble. Um, all right, let's see. Can I add more examples in the book about repositioning? There are thousands of examples that we can do. But the key to the idea of the book is this shows the things that give the biggest bang for the buck. Repositioning is not that complicated of a strategy. And if you want to go to Paris and you're not finding flights from where you live in LA, look out of San Francisco, look out of Vegas, look out of New York. Um, and the easiest way to do that is by reverse searching, as described in the book, from Paris. So look at flights from Paris and see where the best deals are, and then don't go do your search out of those cities. Um, if we gave every single detail of every single problem that needed to be solved, the book would be longer than War and Peace, and no one would read it. So the beauty of the book is it's as short and concise as possible to get the biggest results possible. Um, and people that want to go do other things, that's perfectly fine. But we recommend just sticking to the basic strategies and focusing on them and learning them. I mean, to a certain degree, it can't be written out in a book. It has to be practiced with your own human hands on your keyboard at home. Let's see. I've been in pending status for nearly 3 weeks to join Facebook group. That it shouldn't be any longer than 4 days. People that don't answer the question have to be manually reviewed because we get a lot of spammers and bots. But there are required questions that have to be answered. You do have to agree to group rules. And so I would say go look at your status and make sure those questions are answered and that you agree to group rules. Otherwise, we don't let members in. Um, Mostly to keep from irrelevant questions and spam and bot questions and bot you know lose belly fat ads and things like that. uh Eric says, I have 150K chase points. Is there a way to get the best out of that without paying for the lounge, which I need to wait to do? Absolutely. 99% of our book readers and 99.9% of JGOOT Village haven't joined the lounge. Um, and yeah, the best way to do that is to practice those things. You can read all you want. I mean, just like you can't learn to swim from reading a textbook, you can't learn to um, travel by just reading. You have to get out and travel and apply the principles. And with practice, if you apply the 10 steps in this book and implement them with each trip you take, you will get better. You can't help but not to. If you go and like read other travel blogs and do other things, who knows how long, because overwhelm starts to happen. You try other things that we don't feel are as effective. But if you just stick to the tips in the book and just have faith that those strategies work, you can't help but get more efficient at earning points. You can't help but get more efficient at redeeming them. Can't help at understanding the math of knowing when you should redeem them and when you should just pay cash. Can't help but find good deals if you're looking every day. If you're not looking every day, you're not going to find those deals. So it's a matter of practicing those steps. No ifs, ands, or buts. And yeah, knock yourself out. We love getting testimonials from people who haven't joined our coaching program, because our goal is to get you a hundredfold, a thousandfold return on your $20 book. And that makes us just as happy, because every single one of my coaches and me all have one thing in common. We have been bitten by the travel bug. It's changed our lives. We absolutely love it. Most of our friends don't give a shit about it. And so we have our coaching program for the people who want to take this seriously and get better at it. And that's not to say that you're not serious if you don't join the coaching program. That's just saying that you don't need personal support. And the way you get around that is practice these steps. No other way. You can read the book 10 times, but if you don't take any trips, you won't get better at it. If you read the book, take a trip, read the book again, take another trip, read the book again, take another trip, implement something new each time, can't help but get better at it. And Eric, I'm going to write your name down. I hope that you do it. You don't need to join our several $1,000 coaching program to do that, but just stick with it. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Do you find that sign-up bonuses are typically richer when applying for a Chase card at a physical branch? Yes, there is some merit to that is on and off. I don't know if that's the case now, but it never hurts to check. If assuming Chase is what you're looking for. That is not the case with Amex, but it is sometimes the case with Chase. I know, don't chase shiny objects. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard, and every once in a while we'll see something in the group, and all of us coaches will say, "Huh, that's interesting. I'm going to go look into that." But for the most part, 10 things is plenty of things to keep track of. Why go and focus on other things that aren't as effective? Um, This is Vinay. I'm halfway through the book. I have points everywhere. I like your point about condensing to 2 cards. Can you elaborate how one can get 1,000 in benefit for spending $10,000? So that's actually a pretty easy and attainable goal. And the math behind that is earning multipliers times redemption multipliers. So everyone knows, like you can get 3x points at the grocery store. You can get 2x points at the gas station or whatever. There are various cards that have different multipliers. You can also get good at shopping portals, or in Chase's case, Chase offers shopping portals, and those can sometimes get 10x, 20x, 30x points, meaning you spend $1 and you get 30 points. You spend $100 and you get 3,000 points. Now, it doesn't take a lot of those to up that average to 3 or 4 cents. So if you can earn, or I'm sorry, 3 or 4 points. So if you can earn 3 or 4 points per dollar spent, or per $10,000 spent earn $3,000 or $4,000, or every $10 spent, you would be getting 30 or 40,000 points. Sorry, I'm messing the math up there. So you spend 10 grand, you get 30 or 40,000 points. Then when you go to spend those points, you get 3 or 4 cents per point. So you take your 3 or 4,000 points and you multiply those by 3 or 4 cents, and you're at 10 or 15 cents per dollar. So that's how you get there. And the way you do that is getting good at earning multipliers through, being diligent. Use your Chase Sapphire Reserve when you're eating out, when you're traveling. If you're buying flowers for Mother's Day, if you're sending flowers for Christmas, if you're ordering magazine subscriptions as gifts for Christmas, those can pay 20, 30, 40 points per dollar. So, earn more points per dollar until you're earning an average of 3.3. Redeem those points for an average of 3.3 cents, and you're at 10 cents per dollar. 10 cents per dollar, that's $1,000 per 10,000 spent. That sounded a lot more complicated than it is, but that's the concept. Earning multipliers times redemption multipliers equals credit card return on investment. And your goal is to get better and better and better at that. We consider about 15% beginner level. So if you're getting $1,500 per 10 grand spent, that's still beginner level. You get 25%, $2,500 per 10 grand spent, that's intermediate. 50 up to 50% is the advanced level. And all you're doing is learning to earn more points per dollar spent, learning to redeem more points per dollar spent, and then multiplying those together. That's it. One step at a time. No one's going to just get to 10 cents and 10 cents overnight. That's like ninja level tactics, which isn't worth the trouble for most people. I'm not at that level. So hopefully that answered your question, Vinay. Feel free to chime in if not. Book on Amazon versus JGOOT website. Is there a workaround for that? I bought the book for my son via Amazon. We don't. Amazon doesn't share who buys the book, and we have absolutely no way of doing that. And I can't. I've got a team of 22 people on staff, and I can't add more to their workload of verifying who bought on Amazon and who didn't. Bottom line is, if you want to get on our list, our alert list, just buy the book through our site. Amazon's book price fluctuates here and there, but the downside is you're not on our list. This year we only plan on inviting book buyers to the conference. We're going to sell out just from book buyers attending. So you need to be on our list for that. We're these webinars, we have them every once in a while. I can only alert book buyers. I can't keep track of who bought from Amazon and who didn't, and I can't pay someone to do it. So really, if you want to be on the list, just buy the digital copy and you'll be on the list. Fortunately, you're on here, so that means you are on our list, so we should be okay. If that means that your son shared the link with you, that's fine too. As long as you're reading the book and asking questions about the book, that's great. We're here to help you get as much as you can out of it. Jay Noble, I'm assuming that's Joel Noble, fellow Coloradan who shares the same name. Just to keep expectations reasonable. If you have 100,000 Chase preferred points, what is a reasonable amount dollar-wise that should be worth? Well, based on the textbook definition, those should be worth, or I should say, those should not be wasted for less than $2,000 worth of travel. Now, if you're going somewhere, like if you've got a funeral and that wasn't in the budget, there's no shame in using it and only getting 1.8 cents. I really would advise, just that you go no more than a rounding error lower than 2% though, because, a lot of people say, well, I really need the money. And even though I only got 1 cent, it was better than paying cash. My argument for that is if you're hard pressed for the $1,000 that it saved you, that you cashed out 2,000 to 5,000 to $10,000 worth of points, what's going to happen next time when flights are even more expensive and you don't have any points left? So I always like to say, even in the case of, funds being tight, don't spend your points for less than 2,000. So that's the minimum reasonable expectation. I would like to say that around 4% is reasonable. Meaning those 100,000 points could very well be worth an average of $4,000 worth of travel. And that should get you very nice premium economy, possibly business or first class flights. But there's no reason, if you're diligent enough and you don't waste points on frivolous things and save them for those big opportunities, you can easily get $4,000 out of 100,000. Any more than 5 or 6,000 or 5 or 6 points per dollar, that's starting to get that. I like to say that that's more about bragging rights than reality. For example, it's entirely possible to get a $10,000 first class flight with 100,000 points. They're not even unicorns. They're more common than unicorns. But let's face it, most of us, who even those in our coaching program, wouldn't spend $10,000 of real money in that. So is that really a $10,000 redemption? So I hope that answers your question, Joel. I'd say 3,500 to $4,000 is a reasonable average redemption. If you're disciplined about not wasting them, saving them for those valuable business and first class flights, saving them for those valuable $500 to $1,000 night hotels that you wouldn't actually spend that money on. Yeah, 3,500 to $4,000 is a reasonable average expectation. Just to elaborate on that a little more, it's a little bit like extreme couponing. Like you can get as little into it or as much into it as you want. We have extreme travelers that are the equivalent of extreme couponing, and like extreme couponers actually get paid to go to the grocery store. It's a lot of trouble. They probably spend 10, 15 hours a week on their couponing habit, but hey, that's great for them. That doesn't mean you couldn't dip your toe in and get that $3,000 or $4,000 by just being savvy about how you spend your points. So that was a lot of time on that one question. Hopefully that answered it. Vinlay. That was Dr. Sansom answered Vinay's question. So yeah, she gave another example. Earn 2% in earning multipliers, redeem at 5%. That's also how you get to 10%. So there's no general rule, but you should give yourself that discipline until you're getting $1,000 for every 10,000 you spend. That's your sign that you should focus more on getting better at earning multipliers and redemption multipliers. Some are better at some than others. Some are great shoppers and they get good at earning, and they don't have to be as good at redemption. Other people aren't. They don't spend a lot. They're not good at they don't buy stuff online that has the opportunity for big multipliers. So they're just more careful at redeeming more wisely. So there's no one formula, but yeah, 2% times 5%, 3.3%. It's a loose formula. Eugene, I found that the most expensive part of trips are hotels. Outside of transferring points to Hyatt, what other strategy do you recommend for hotel costs, especially in middle tier 3 or 4 star? Not with points. I mean, Hyatt is by far the biggest anomaly. Very, very occasionally, I will find an okay redemption with other big chains, but I don't have an answer for you for that. And I myself, I always look at Hyatt first for a good deal. If there's not a good deal, I look at hotels just like everyone else, and I'll look and see if there are Hilton, Marriott, or IHG redemptions. There usually aren't, and they're not good enough for me to waste my membership rewards or ultimate rewards points transferring over there. So that's like my plan B. My plan C is just like everyone else. I get savvy on hotels.google.com, on Hotels Tonight, Hotel Slash. All of them have their pros and cons, but yeah, for me, I always look at Hyatt first, other point opportunities second. I personally have the discipline of I will not waste points for less than, I go for like 2.5 cents. I just won't do it. And if not, I will go pay cash. When my family went to Italy, almost all of our lodging was good old fashioned, booking online with cash because they weren't good redemptions. And that allows me to save my points for bigger, better stuff elsewhere, whether that's hotels when it is a good redemption, flights when it's a good redemption, maybe even cruises. That's very, very, very rare. Ooh, Darian has 1.7 million Amex points. Can they ever take them back? And I would like to go to Indonesia to surf. How would I go about finding the best deal? Um, uh, Points.me is a great resource when you've got a specific place you want to go. Uh, that's kind of my go-to. It's addressed in the book. There are screenshots of how to use it, and they will tell you which airline is best. I also talk about I can't think of it. Award Hacker. Award Hacker. It's a little clumsy, but it does the same thing. It aggregates all of the flights, all of the points, and tells you what you should be able to get, and that helps with expectations. Indonesia to surf, that could be done for as little as 60, 80,000 point. Asia's expensive right now. But it could be done for as little as 60, 80,000 points round trip in coach, and as little as 150,000 round trip, more realistically, a couple 100,000 points in business, if not first class. So those are kind of the ballpark expectations. 1.7 million points. That's easily 8 round trips in business class to Asia, if you're savvy about how you spend them. Another time for a shameless plug in JGOOT Lounge. Redeeming the points is the hardest part of this game, especially if you want to do it comfortably in business or first class. And one of the things that we're most proud of in JGOOT Lounge is, every trip is different. You've got your origination airport, you've got where the deal is, which is rarely your origination airport. You've got the dates. Is it peak season? Is it off season? Are the Olympics going on? All of those impact availability, and it's very difficult. And one of the things we're most proud of is JGOOT Lounge, our coaching program, is that we have coaches that help you work through that. So Darian, if you were to be planning a trip, you would get on checkpoint 5. That's like our top level checkpoint. That's when you're close to graduation, and we're once you're there, you know how to find these flights. But you would say, I'm going to Indonesia. I want to go during these dates. The longer of a leash you give us, the better we can do. And our coaches are on a Zoom call with you, and we show you like, oh, okay, you're at this airport. We're gonna use this tool, or we're gonna use that tool, or whatever. You use different tools for different use cases, and they literally show you. And it will help you with the specific trip you're planning. But B, if you just sit and watch other people, because we usually do 4 or 5 people at a time in an hour-long session. If you watch other people, you can just pick up on these strategies and say, okay. So I'll use point.me in this case. I'll use seat.arrow in this other case. I'll use expert flyer in this other case. And just like learning a new language, the more you practice it, the more you watch other people do it, the better you get at it. So what I like to say is, if you have goals of international travel, and not like Caribbean, Mexico, but Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, things that are 10, 15, 20-hour flights, and you want to do, you don't want to do that in coach, and you want to do that in business class, our coaching program pays for itself. Because odds are you're either going to waste a lot more points than we're going to save you, or you're going to waste a lot more cash than we'll save you just through the practice of trial and error. And if that's the case, if you need to buy more than 2 tickets, whether that's one trip for two of you or 2 trips for one of you, I would really consider our coaching program. Yes, it's not cheap, but do you want to learn this over the course of 6 or 8 vacations? Or do you want personal support from coaches who are, who have done this dozens of times and are well versed in all of the pitfalls to avoid and the sweet spots to go after and all of that? So if you're watching and if you are interested, I will just throw that out there that it's a free call. Feel free to set up a call and just tell us about, you might get me, you might get one of my other advisors, and just tell us what your travel plans are. We're not in this to take, if you don't even have a passport and you have no intention of international travel, and maybe when you do, you'll just go to the Caribbean. That's not what our coaching program is for, and we wouldn't take your money. We'll tell you what chapter to dig into the book, what you need based on where you currently are, and we'll send you on your way. And I have every bit of confidence that when you are ready to travel bigger and better, you will have already saved more than the cost of our program. That's my promise to you if you do book a call. And I'll leave it at that. Back to questions. Oh, I'll skip ahead. Carla's a lounge member. Carla says, thanks for the JGOOT Way. You've changed our lives over the past 2 years. We've experienced and traveled, I assume, so many more places than ever before, heading to Madrid and Canary Islands in January. Carla, it's great having you in the lounge. I hope we get to see you at one of our next meetups, one of which is, 3 weeks away in Panama. Darian, let's see. Darian again. I'm also 980 MQM on Delta from reaching gold. I just spent another 15,000 on Delta Amex. I'll get to gold status. Will I get to gold status with a status boost? I already got it once. I'll be honest, Darian, I don't know. I don't have status with any airlines right now. I don't need it. I have a couple friends who spend 10 times as much as me, and they have their status with their preferred airline. Some because they get it through their company dime, others because they spend a lot and fly a lot and all that. I don't chase status. I don't need it. By being efficient with points, and you can see this on point.me, you will pay a quarter of the points for business class and not need an upgrade than what people with status will pay just to get in premium economy, crossing their fingers hoping they get an upgrade. I can promise you that. Like, we have teachers and firefighters and nurses who don't spend a lot of money, who get more free travel than millionaires spending 10 times as much as them, who don't know what they're doing. So if you're close to gold status, great, go for it. I don't know the cutoffs, and I don't know, what their rules are, because I've never had status with any airline. I just chose to get good at points and get a lot more out of my everyday spending. And by the way, I have owned businesses where I spent $1 million a year. That was when I had this stupid card. I didn't know what I was doing. I learned to travel this way when I was broke, going through a divorce, and all money was frozen. I was literally poverty level on taxes. I learned how to be efficient with my spend and get almost as much free travel as what I was spending per year. So it's mostly a matter of where you choose to fight your battles. And if status and free bags is what you want because you get a lot of domestic travel, great, more power to you. If first class or internet, saving money on international flights for personal vacations is what you're after, my personal opinion is there's no better way than with flexible points. No, I do not go for Delta point. I have a Delta card. I don't care about Delta points. I don't have a United card. Don't need them. I can transfer my points to United. I can transfer my points to Delta. I've flown Delta, but I've never bothered with earning Delta points after I learned this. I hope that helps. Just got this book this morning. All right. Welcome. And I've watched one of the videos. Keep digging in. You know, it's not an overnight process. A lot of people say, well, can you just give me the tip or trick? That's like asking someone who's fluent in Russian to just give you one tip or trick to be fluent in Russian. Practice, do a little bit at a time. And, you know, just like you couldn't subscribe to Pimsleur or Babbel a month before going to Russia and expect to do much at all, you can't do this. But if you apply these principles with each trip that you take, I promise you, you will get better and better and better at it. And before you know it, you will look back and you will say, why did I ever travel through the old-fashioned way? So welcome. Join our Facebook group. We have weekly webinars and answer all the questions we can. How are we doing? Ooh, questions keep rolling in. I'm going to start talking less. Marcella, I have the Southwest card with an annual fee. I also have Chase. I know I need to keep the Southwest card for the credit history. How do I get this count down to a 0 annual fee option? You don't. You can downgrade it to their lowest level, which I think is $69 a year. The good news is they give enough points that are all worth almost that much. So as long as you fly at all, that's worthwhile. If you don't fly Southwest often, then it's not the end of the world to cancel. I have, you know, I mean, if you have to cancel because of an expensive fee, go ahead and do it. You'll take a short-term bump on your credit, but as long as you pay your bills on time, as long as you spend money and continue to have responsible credit, you'll be fine. But to answer Lynn's question, you can open a business card as a sole proprietor and then transfer balance. Yes, you can do that within the Chase family. You can do that within the Amex family. You can never transfer points from, say, Capital One to Chase or from Chase to Capital One. Just like you can't transfer United points to another airline, or you can't transfer United points to Chase. You can transfer Chase points to United, can't do it the other way around. That's why we talk about flexible points. But yes, to answer your question, Lynn, you can do that within the Chase family or within the Amex family. Steve asks, how do I replay the Southwest info? That is available at jgoot.com/Southwest, and you can purchase our course there. It's a mini course. It shows 3 different strategies on how to earn the companion pass. We call one the fast track method, the slow and steady method, and the hybrid method. One involves 8,000 in spend and signing up for 2 cards. The other involves 10 to 20,000 in spend and signing up for 1 card. The other involves 20 to 40,000 in spend and not signing up for any new Southwest cards. You do have to previously have had a Southwest card, but those are the 3 ways that we show you how to earn companion pass through the end of the current year and the following year after that. So up to 2 years. And you can find that at jgoot.com/Southwest. Let's see. Does the JGOOT Way of Travel work if 75% or more of your travel has to be scheduled? Most of your travel is based on regatta schedules around the world. Yeah, the JGOOT Way works no matter what. It's just a matter of how effective it is. The more strict your schedule, the more creative you're going to have to be. So just because you have specific dates to work with, just because you have to be to a specific place by a certain time, that doesn't mean that you can't leave earlier and tack on, some extra days, see a new country. Doesn't mean you can't position either on the front end or the back end or whatever. So yeah, it works. Here's the thing. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to travel that way. And there's no rule or guideline on how much you have to travel the JGOOT way and how much you have to travel the way you've always done it. The key is taking the tools and applying them and using the ones that work the most for you. And points, if you don't have them, you have no choice. You have to pay whatever the market will bear. If you have them, sometimes you'll find a better deal. And when you do, it's way better. Other times you don't. And in that case, you travel the way you've always traveled. No, so, half the time you travel the same way you did anyway. The other half the time you save obscene amounts of money. And the more aggressive you are, the more often that happens. The less serious you are about it, the less often it happens. But one thing is for sure is if you don't have any points, you don't have a choice. And there's no point in doing the JGOOT way. That's all I will say about that. Chase shopping portal versus Rakuten, which is better? Rakuten. Next question. Not even up for debate. That's not why I say to start with Chase. The reason I say to start with Chase is because it's way easier and way less overwhelming. 99% of the people I talk to, including my own friends and family, don't do this amazing travel hobby because it's too overwhelming. So why not start with something that's pretty easy? It's pretty easy that, when Mother's Day is coming up, you go to the Chase travel portal and you can find flowers for 15 to 25 points per dollar. That could be thousands of points right there. It's pretty easy to find those big wins with the Chase shopping portal. Once you get good at that, then you can graduate. And Amex has way more moving parts. It's way more stuff to master. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, Rakuten's better. Which is better for flights? Amex. It's also more complicated. And if you try to jump right in with Amex, just like trying to jump into the deep end of the pool, if you don't know how to swim, it might not work and you might quit. I've seen lots of people do it. And they say, yeah, I tried that once and it just wasn't worth the trouble. Yeah, because they got overwhelmed too fast and they didn't do it. When and where is the conference? We're still working on that. Our ideal venue, we loved our conference last year. They're not available on the dates that all of our coaches are available. We're aiming for November, but we don't have a venue yet, so we're still working on it. I'm going to be good enough to be a coach one day. Fantastic. Every one of our coaches, learned the ropes, worked their way up, and that's why they're coaches. So we look forward to seeing you. And don't start too early. The way I recruit my coaches is the people who proactively help out in our free group and answer questions and so on. Every one of them was recruited because of that. Corky, thank you for answering someone's question. I will scroll right by that. Donna, I have shopping buttons for American Airlines, Southwest, Rakuten, and Capital One. How do you choose which one is best? Well, they make it pretty easy. If you have pop-ups for each of them, they'll tell you which one gets the most points. Now, just because one of them gets more points, that doesn't mean that you should do it. I would, quite frankly, unless you're pursuing Southwest Companion Pass, I would take that one out because their points are nowhere near as valuable as others. And really the same for any individual airline. I personally don't pursue individual airline miles unless I can't get them elsewhere. So between those, I'd focus on Rakuten and Capital One because those earn you the most flexible points. And unless you can get 2 to 4 times as many points elsewhere, I'd just focus on those. And sorry, that was this question that I was answering. Is the lounge a one-time fee or a recurring cost? JGOOT Lounge is a 6-month program. It is by interview only. It's not cheap. We want to make sure that, we're not taking money from someone who doesn't even have a passport or refuses to get the cards that we recommend. If you don't want to get the cards we recommend, we can't help you. So we have a personal interview. It's designed as a 6-month program, and that's a one-time fee. It can be broken into payments. And then after 6 months, if you choose to stick around, you can do so for a nominal fee. I would say about 60% of our members stick around. Not so much because they need it. If we don't meet our goal by 6 months, we have to let you stick around for free. And our coaches have to keep working with you until we meet our minimum $10,000 in additional free travel goal. But if assuming we meet our goal and you've done that, it's an optional thing to stick around, and there's a fee for that. Does the coaching program include husband and wife as one membership? Absolutely. We love when both husband and wife are involved. That's a power partnership. Half of our members, they're the travel addict and their partner could care less, and they're doing all the work on their own. Other half of our members, they both join, and one of them maybe focuses on earning multipliers, like redeeming or spending the money so that they earn as many points as possible, and then the other focuses on getting really, really good at redeeming the points as wisely as possible. And that is a power partnership. Those people have a huge advantage. Now, that's not to say that solo travelers don't have a huge advantage, because there's like finding first class flights is way easier for solo travelers than it is even for couples. So there are always advantages to one person, two people, families of 4. We have families of 6, and there are pros and cons to all of them. Anita bought the book right after a trip to Europe for adults. What would be the strategy and point cost to upgrade the seats to business or first, or is it just too late? And Anita, I hope I wasn't on mute when I answered that question earlier. I don't mess with upgrades. I'm not the person to ask. We do have a couple coaches that do, but for me personally, I book the flight that I want because I know how to guarantee myself business and first class when I'm on flights longer than 3 or 4 hours, and I don't worry about it. So I unfortunately don't have an answer. I know it could be done, but every airline is different, and I wouldn't want to ill-advise you. Now I'm suddenly seeing all of the comments from when my AirPods ran out. Can't hear you, can't hear you, can't hear you, can't hear you. Sorry, I didn't see those comments while I was talking. Lots and lots of them. No sound, no sound. I'm getting there. Okay. All right. No audio. Okay, asking again, in order to use points, do you book each leg separately? So that's a good question. Typically, we do our research one leg at a time. So we research our outbound and then we find our return separately. Most of the time, that's perfectly fine and you can book them that way. Sometimes there's an advantage and some airlines offer a better deal when you book round trip, but it's easiest to do your searching one way. Search for outbound, find your flight that you want, write it down. Search for the return, find your flight that you want, write it down. Check to see if it's a better deal to do that round trip. But more times than not, it's the same cost if you do it, 2 separate one ways or a round trip. Let's see. When checking flights every day, do you recommend the use of a VPN? I don't personally do that. I do. I don't think there's an advantage to that. The real reason you use a VPN or incognito or just checking from a separate device is when you've been searching for the same place, the same dates, and so on, and then all of a sudden you notice prices go up. It could be that
they're playing games with you and raising the price to make you think you should hurry up and book it. And in those cases, when you've been searching, and again, this is like repetitive searches, you want to go to Cabo on June 7th and you're searching. If they raise the price on you, like out of the blue, that's when you use a VPN or a different browser or incognito just to see. And I've saved thousands of dollars that way. But no, I don't do my daily searching worried about that. I mean, I use a VPN by default, but that's not why. And for those wondering, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. Definitely a good idea for looking into, subscribing to, especially if you travel and use your laptop elsewhere. But a lot would argue it's a good idea always. Different topic. We have a class on that in JGOOT Lounge. Yeah, we could spend an hour talking about that alone. I think that's all the questions. I got through them because most of them were that I was muted. And I'm not seeing them because I'm using StreamYard to be able to show these comments, and I didn't see them till I got to them. So apologies for that couple minutes of quiet. I hope this was helpful. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a good rest of the weekend. Happy travels.